Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time once again for the Paranormal Portal. And I'll be your host, Brent Thomas. Hope you guys are having a great day after the 4th of July. Independence Day as it is. I know a lot of people are dealing with a heat wave. And I'm here to tell you, I feel the heat. It's starting to get warm up here. But I still like that way better. I'll sit here and sweat in a Speedo before I would miss the cold. I'm here to tell you, this is still my happy place. If it gets too hot, hopefully you have an air conditioner and you can cool down. But if not, go swimming, things to mitigate the temperature. But it's always sizzling hot here in the portal because, it's a hell of a show, right? I hope you guys are doing great, though. Thank you so much for joining me. It's officially the weekend now. Unfortunately, Sheldon couldn't make it tonight, so it's just me. You get another dose of me for 2 hours. Hopefully that's okay. I know there's been a lot of solo shows lately, and that's okay. That's how I started all of this years and years ago. Don started with me quite a bit, but he's predisposed, and we miss him. But of course, things are going much better in his world, and again, it's nothing going on with Don directly, but it's just those that he loves that are going through some tough times, and so he's been dedicating all his time and energy to that. So continued love and prayers to he and his family, of course, as we keep hoping for the greatest result ever to happen. Have absolutely Maggie family first. That's for sure. So at any rate, hopefully I can do a good job keeping you entertained for about 2 hours here tonight on the portal. We got a lot to get to. We're actually gonna, obviously do the news. That's coming right up in just a couple minutes. But then we're gonna dive into some stories of some ghost ships. Some actual ghost ships that are happening. And I found this excellent ranker.com article on ghost ships and some of the weird, mysterious happenings that led to them being these derelict craft that are allegedly still floating around out there. So we'll dive into that. I think those are fascinating because it's hard to understand what caused people to just bail or just disappear off of a perfectly good ship in the middle of an ocean. I mean, it's not like you're going to swim for it. I'm not sure what the hell was going on, but whatever it was, and it's anybody's guess. We weren't there, but it would seem that they were presented like that was the better alternative than staying on the ship. So I don't know what that means, but, we can speculate all day, but we'll get into those. They really float my boat. Rachel. Absolutely, Rachel never lets us down. Very good. She says, ghost ship stories really float me boat. Hiya, landlubbers. Welcome to the SS Portal. As we weigh anchor and head out into the unknown depths of the abyss. That's my best pirate. That's the best I got for you. So hopefully that's good. And, we're going to get into the cryptids after that. So we got a full roster of fun here on the portal, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Once again, thank you so much for your love and support and for continuing to show up when I turn on the lights here. This is always great. Annie says pretty good. Good. It got me rum. Anyway, I don't know. I'm trying to do like a Barbossa kind of thing, but that guy was like the epitome of a pirate. Whoever played Barbossa played the hell out of that. That guy was amazing, and I don't know the guy's name, but what a incredible actor for sure. Not that Johnny Depp was bad; he was a great Jack Sparrow. But I'm speaking, of course, of the Pirates of the Caribbean series. They were great movies. But anyway, that's what's on the menu tonight here on the Paranormal Portal. Our buffet of fun is about to begin. I don't think I got anything on the front end. I do want to remind you that, let's see, where is it? I gotta find my tabs. I do want to remind you that on July 26th and 27th, I'm going to be here. I'm actually going to drive down there and hang out at the Bigfoot Rendezvous, 2024 Bigfoot Rendezvous and it's going on in Pocatello, Idaho. And there's going to be, there's tickets available for either one day or both days. And if you can make it on the 26th or 27th, that'd be cool. Now, I'm not featured as a featured guest here, but I'm going to be there and hopefully introduce more people to the Paranormal Portal and do some networking and bring back maybe some great interviews or something. Anyway, I'm going to be there and we're going to do it. And if you're in the Pocatello, Idaho neighborhood, it's kind of in the southeast part of Idaho. So I guess it's kind of east of Boise is what it looks like on a map to me. So it's kind of way on the other end of the state. But, Barbosa is a really historical pirate too. Very cool. I did not know that. Thank you, Annie. But I'll be there. Dr. Jeff Meldrum will be there. Michael Freeman will be there. Nico Spatafora will be there. Mark Mersell will be there. David Ellis is another amazing name that's going to be there. And Squatch America. So it's a 2-day event. Hopefully you guys can make it, at least some of you guys. It's more south. It's not quite as south as Vernal, which will be the next stop that hopefully we're going to take. Well, I know we're going to take it. And just, hopefully Don can be there. And hopefully Sheldon can be there. And I'll be there. And that's 4 days. So, if you're not doing nothing and be in, I guess it's the beginning of September, then come on down. So those are the events coming up. That is the Vernal event is called Phenomicon, and you can find out more at phenomicon.net. And this is squatchprince.com is the site that I've got up here. Again, if you want more information about the Bigfoot Rendezvous 2024, 208-251-2005 is the phone number. And you can call up and get more information. So I guess that's about as much as I can tell you as on the laundry list. On the laundry list, that was the laundry. And I'm really excited for that. That's going to be a good time. Hopefully. I mean, I'm not really excited about driving, solo for 8 hours. But, you got to do what you got to do. Cat Doherty says, air conditioning is not keeping up. Sweltering nice place. Pet sitting at, though. Love all these animals I'm responsible for. Well, do your best to keep cool. Iced tea, maybe. Some cold, icy drinks. I'm feeling you, though. I know the heat gets dangerous, and that's the scary part for those people that don't have air conditioning. So, do what you can. Stay, hydrated, and don't get overly aggressive with your activity. Save it for the darkness when it cools down quite a bit. So, anyway, but we're sending you our love, Cat. Stay cool. All right. I guess that's kind of the front end of the show. Let's dive into more because we're going to dive into the news, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to do my best to bring you up to speed on the happenings in the world, at least the ones that I saw fit to talk about. I don't claim this is a complete news briefing, but there's some cool stories and hopefully you enjoy them. So without further delay, let's get to the news. Grandizer, I've been rebuilt a few times already, brother. Cue the news sound, the teleprompter. There's no teleprompter here, Grandizer. It's just me and you. And monitor full of news goodness, so which I read right from the same monitor you're seeing the story appear on. The same window is actually my monitor that sits to my right. I think I'm on the screen, right? Yeah, there we go. So it sits right here. Usually I'm looking here at the production software and stuff, and then over here is the Ghost Radar and other stuff. But anyway, that's my configuration. 3 monitors, a wall of vision in front of me, and then a ring light up here so you can see me better. Because I hope you want to see me. I guess I'm assuming an awful lot here, but at any rate, this is the news, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to dive into our first news story. Again, remember, we visit a lot of sites throughout the course of these shows. Hear my fan kicking on? Yeah, it's getting warm here in the studio. I've got a fan blowing on myself under the desk, and then on the actual tower where the side is off, trying to keep it cool, because overheating computers don't work real good. So, and this tower is kind of old. It's got a lot of mileage on it, so I try to baby it as much as I can. But God, I forgot what I was going to say. But anyway, oh yeah, we use a lot of sites, so please. I would encourage you guys, as you look at these names of these sites, please check them out. Please help to support what they're doing, because these sites are doing an amazing job, and they're timely. They're great information. It's right up our alley, things that we love to read about anyway. So if you're looking for paranormal-ish stories, lists, news, whatever, be sure to check out the sites we use on the show, because they're great sites. And your traffic equals revenue to keep their lights on, because these big sites have to pay for bandwidth. So every visit costs them something. So you can help to mitigate that by definitely visiting and getting, helping to keep their lights on. So anyway, Blue Line Bigfoot hopped in here. Oh, ho, ho. Good to see you, Blue Line. Who is it? Oh, it's definitely Jake. Hey, Rachie? Oh, he's talking about Rachel. I always have to interpret Jake's writing, because it's almost in code. Jake writes in a really odd phonetic manner. So good to see you, brother. Thanks for tuning in. Great to have you here. And, ladies and gentlemen, Blue Line Bigfoot has their own YouTube channel. You should check that out. They're wonderful guys, great creative geniuses. I love watching their stuff. So I just want to support that. Oh, also, one other piece of news. I did an interview with Shane Grove of From the Shadows podcast, and that is live now. And I pasted the link on the social media for the Paranormal Portal and for Brent Thomas, and on the Paranormal Portal fans pages on Facebook. So I'd love it if you checked it out. It's him interviewing me, and we talked about a lot of stuff. Maybe you've heard me say a lot of it before. I I don't know. I'm probably guilty of giving very standard interviews. Like, I end up discussing a lot of the same stuff, and it's not because I don't have anything else to say, but in this case, Shane asked me to rehash a story that I'd already shared on his show prior, and still it was fun to go into and talk about. But, we did have a great talk, so it's like a jump to light speed. What is news from the Ouija board, straight from a spirit's mouth? Could you imagine? I don't know if I trust that news. I'm just saying, you don't know who the reporter is. Could be anything. All right, so let's get to the first story tonight. Here's an interesting one. I'm personally a cat lover. We have 2 cats, Pikachu and Anubis. Pikachu's a little white, tiger striped, Siamese mix. Just an adorable little dork. And then I have a black cat. It's Anubis, and he's a wonderful, kind of crabby old man, but he's a good soul. Lots of love. But anyway, I love cats. Interestingly enough, the first article tonight on the news has to do with cats. And I don't know if this is interesting or not. I haven't read it yet. Let's dive into it together and find out just what's going on in the world of cats here. This is from the Nature and Environment section of unexplained-mysteries.com. It says, why do cats tend to meow more at humans than they do at each other? Well, it's not that they don't meow at each other. They do, but usually it's a pissy meow at each other, because my 2 cats are both males, and they're not from the same family. They're not from the same litter, although they've been put in this living situation where it's like it's almost like MTV's or Big Brother or something. I don't know what the hell the MTV reality show was, but it's kind of the same thing. It's like they're put in this situation, and you just try to keep the peace. And sometimes they love each other, and other times they just despise each other. I'm not sure why it is, but anyway, Pikachu's always taking a shot at the title, and Anubis has to keep letting him know that he's not quite that big yet. So, but they're sweethearts anyway. But let's find out about the world of cats. So why do they meow more at humans than they do at each other? Animal behaviorist Grace Carroll takes a look at the reason why cats seem to like meowing at us. Oh, God, this is a big one. I didn't know this is a big one. I think we'll read at least the first section of it. This is a story that goes back thousands of years. Originally, cats were solitary creatures, and this means they preferred to live and hunt alone rather than in groups. Most of their social behavior was restricted to mother-kitten interactions, and outside of this relationship, cats rarely meow at each other. However, as cats began to live alongside humans, these vocalizations took on new meanings. In many ways, when a cat meows at us, it's as if they see us as their caregivers, much like their feline mothers. Yeah, I would agree with that. I can't tell you how much I love those when they get on you and they start kneading the bread dough kind of thing and they still have claws. Oof, that's a whole new development of fun. But, it's a loving thing. I think they say that it's a habit they pick up from being kittens and trying to stimulate breast milk in their mothers. But my cats are going to be all kinds of disappointed when they look for breast milk here. Ain't happening. But anyway, cats probably first encountered humans roughly 10,000 years ago when people began establishing permanent settlements. Or longer. I think we had permanent settlements before 10,000 years ago. But anyway, these settlements attracted rodents, which in turn drew cats looking for prey. The less fearful and more adaptive cats thrived, benefiting from a consistent food supply, and over time these cats developed closer bonds with humans. Unlike dogs, which were bred by humans for specific traits, cats essentially domesticated themselves. Those that could tolerate and communicate with humans had a survival advantage, leading to a population well suited to living alongside people. The only thing that I wish they'd bred out of them was that whole, hey, there's a couch. But anyway, let's move on. To understand this process, we look at the Russian famed fox experiments beginning in the 1950s. Soviet scientist Dmitry Belayev and his team selectively bred silver foxes, mating those that were less fearful and aggressive towards human. Over generations, these foxes became more docile and friendly, developing physical traits similar to domesticated dogs, such as floppy ears and curly tails. Their vocalizations changed too, shifting from aggressive coughs and snorts to more friendly cackles and pants, reminiscent of human laughter. Oh, cute. These experiments demonstrated that selective breeding for tameness could lead to a range of behavioral and physical changes in animals, achieving in a few decades what would usually take thousands of years. Though less obvious than the differences between dogs and the ancestral wolf, cats have also changed since their days as African wildcats. They now have smaller brains. You might explain a few things. And more varied coat colors, traits common among domestic species. The vocal adaptations. Where are we going with this? Is this? I guess we'll just read the damn thing. Cats have also altered their vocalizations to tap into this sensitivity. What sensitivity? Like the silver foxes, I went a little too far, sorry. Cats have adapted their vocalizations, albeit over a much longer period of time. Human babies are altrical. What the hell is altrical? I don't know what this word means, but if anybody wants to look it up and let me know, that'd be great. Human babies are altrical at birth, meaning they are, here it is. They are entirely dependent upon their parents, and this dependency has made us particularly attuned to distress calls. Ignoring them would be costly for human survival. True. And you might get yourself in trouble as well. Cats have altered their vocalizations to tap into this sensitivity. In a 2009 study by animal behavior researcher Karen McComb and her team gives evidence of this adaptation. Participants in the study listened to two types of purrs. One type was recorded when cats were seeking food, solicitation purr, and another recorded when they were not a non-solicitation purr. That's nice. Both cat owners and non-cat owners rated the solicitation purrs as more urgent and less pleasant. An acoustic analysis revealed a high-pitched component in these solicitation purrs, resembling a cry. This hidden cry taps into our innate sensitivity to distress sounds, making it nearly impossible for us to ignore. See, mine don't do that purr. They just go, wah, 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 wah. When they're hungry, they just go wacky. Every day they get a little can of soft food, and God, it's just like tongue crack. They just start tweaking. So, I don't know. I haven't heard those solicitation purrs. I just hear the incessant whining of a cat that won't let you forget that they're there. But it's not just cats that have adapted their vocalizations. We have too. When we talk to babies, we use, oh, look at this, motherese. What the hell? Don't talk to me now. I got to speak motherese. More commonly known as baby talk. Characterized by a higher pitch, exaggerated tones, and simplified language. This form of speech helps engage infants, playing a role in their language development. I didn't know that was called motherese, though. Is that that just sounds weird. What language are they speaking? Well, I think that's motherese. Yeah, this is the news. I guess we're learning all kinds of stuff, folks. Hey, Grandardo, good to see you. We've extended this style and communication to our interactions with pets, known as pet-directed speech. Why don't they call it furry ease? Recent research suggests that cats respond to this form of communication. A 2022 study by animal behavior researcher Charlotte de Mouzon and colleagues found that cats could distinguish between speech addressed to them and speech addressed to adult humans. This pattern of discrimination was particularly strong when the speech came from the cat's owners. Clearly, the people that are feeding them, of course, they're going to pay more attention. Our adoption of pet-directed speech reinforces a bond that mirrors mother-kitten interactions. Changes in vocalizations are not only seen in cat-human relationships. Compared to the ancestral wolf, dogs have expanded their barking behavior to communicate more effectively with humans, and just as with cats, we use pet-directed speech when interacting with dogs. Over time, cats have evolved the use of vocal signals that resonate with our nurturing instincts. Oh, those clever furry bastards. That explains everything. Paired with our use of pet-directed speech, this two-way communication highlights the unique relationship we've developed with our feline friends, and it seems cats might be the winners in this relationship, adapting to our solicit care and attention from us. Still, a lot of cat owners wouldn't have it any other way. There you go. It's republished from The Conversation under a Creative Commons license. Okay, gotcha. Well, it's interesting take. I don't think I really like the motherese. The last thing we need is another set of buzzwords for stuff. It's like, can we just call it baby talk? Let's not give it a weird new buzzword name. This is baby talk. You baby talk stuff. Sure. Okay, we get it. I don't know. Anyway, there you have it. The first article. Hope you liked it. Question, what does the cat say? Meow, meow, meow. Yeah, that's generally what they say. That's what the Meow Mix commercial used to be. I kind of missed the Chuck Wagon commercial, where that guy would just bust out in his covered wagon and go all over the kitchen and stuff, and the dogs would be chasing it. I don't know why that came to my mind, but it was like, oh yeah, because I think they had cat food too, as I recall. But anyway, Chuck Wagon. Anyway, what do you do? There you go, folks. That's the first news article tonight, and I hope you learned something. I learned that people call baby talk motherese, and I'm a little disturbed by that, honestly. It's just like, God. Yeah, I don't know what it is. But and it seems to be a common academic practice is when you come up with a new idea, you've also got to come up with a whole new batch of buzzwords about it. And I saw this a bunch in my time in working in corrections. Was we were adopting a new therapeutic model, and it would basically be a regurgitation of the one that we were already using, but they would have new buzzwords, and then we'd have to have these workshop classes to go over it, and it was essentially exactly what we were doing, but they came up with a new set of buzzwords, and then it was just kind of branded as a new revolutionary approach, and it's like, we've already been doing this, because I worked in juvenile corrections just for the sake of discussion. I didn't work in adult corrections like Don or like my cousin. So I dealt with the younger guys, and we often talked and had group talking sessions and would work through problems and, kind of they called it cognitive restructuring, and it's fair enough. I mean, you're teaching people to look at problems and try to, come up with constructive solutions rather than knee jerk, passionate and angry responses instead. But anyway, I was a juvie. You were a juvie, aggravated? Well, yeah, I don't think I worked with you back then, but unless you're in Minnesota. But I don't know. Brent, we always got that coworker who does baby talk that just have to take it to the nails on the chalkboard cringe. Yeah, I know. Or the people that talk to you really condescendingly like you're a kindergartner. It's like, oh God, I don't know. Anyway, I escaped a lot. Well, yeah, I understand. All right. Anyway, enough of the memory lane, I guess. But that's the first article. But wait, I have more. There's more. That was a longer article. I apologize, but I hope you found that interesting. I found it entertaining and interesting all at once. I don't think anything really revolutionary came out of that article, but it's somebody's thoughts on the subject. So, maybe so. All right, let's go to the next one. This one is dealing with the UFO phenomenon. This also comes from unexplained-mysteries.com. And this one is workers spot large dark metallic disc over the Red Rocks Amphitheater. And of course, Red Rocks is very famous. A lot of huge bands have played there as, part of their, either as big bands themselves or in their journey becoming a big band. There's been so many. I remember watching U2 live at Red Rocks. I didn't watch it live. I just watched the video of it, but it was just a cool place. I remember seeing Pearl Jam play there in another video. I'd never been to Red Rocks, but it seems like a really neat place. And I think it's kind of a sacred place as I recall. I'm not really sure, but it is apparently amazing acoustics. So it's got that going for them. Not really good cushions on any of the seats, as you can see. But anyway, let's dive into this one. It says the iconic Colorado venue was the scene of a UFO sighting involving multiple witnesses back in June. Like just last month, June. Okay. Situated around 10 miles to the southwest of Denver, Colorado, the Red Rocks Amphitheater is a large open-air venue capable of seating almost 10,000 people at any one time. How many if they stand? No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, I'm just an idiot. But it wasn't one of the acts performing on stage that gained attention back in June 5th. It was a strange object spotted in the sky over the venue by at least a dozen members of staff. Visible in the northern sky at around 1 a.m., the object was described by witnesses as a dark metallic disc, which measured several hundred feet in length and had 3 levels of windows. Ooh, that's a big one. One of our coworkers suddenly said to us, "Hey, what's that over there? It looks like a spaceship," one of the witnesses wrote. We all turned to look in the direction he was pointing, and sure enough, there was a UFO hovering. The object remained in place for around 30 seconds before heading toward the east. And then it started fading away until it was invisible, the witness continued. It didn't shoot off into space, it just simply dissolved into the ether. And we all watched it vanish, and it was not a plane, it wasn't a satellite, a drone, or anything like that. There was no mistaking what this was. Why am I getting all these guns? I'm getting a bunch of gun stuff. I got bullets here. What's the best caliber? Really? I don't know. Guess it depends on what you're planning on shooting, I suppose. But anyway, I do have to say, and this is, if you're not already familiar with my personal first UFO sighting, I've seen other things since then, but the first was incredibly, incredibly profound and just blew my mind. And you can hear me go over that on From the Shadows interview that I was talking about with Shane Grove. But I couldn't see it with my naked eyes. The only way I could see it was through Generation 1 night vision on a pair of binoculars that I was using. It was Generation 1 night vision binoculars, and they only had like 4 or 5 power magnification. So it's not like true binoculars where you're like, looking at an eagle's nostril. They were mildly magnified, but I saw this thing there, and I was like, oh my God, I got to see it with my own eyes. And I put down the binoculars, and I couldn't see it. It didn't exist. I saw the stars, I saw the tree silhouettes, but I didn't see the craft that was flashing light. Put up the binoculars, and I could. Now, that to me said that what I was witnessing was something that could hide. It could hide from the native spectrum of light that our eyes see. We all know that the light spectrum is so much more robust than what we can visually see and experience. And so it was able to change that so that the only way I was able to see it was by looking in the infrared spectrum. And, I couldn't tell you what colors or anything were because everything was green in this Generation 1 night vision. But it was there, lower it, it was gone. Raise the binoculars, it was there. Now, it was there. It didn't go anywhere. But when I lowered the binoculars the first time to see it with my eyes, I thought, oh my God, it took off. It's just, boom, gone. You hear the stories. But then I raised the binoculars again. It was still sitting there. Then I lowered them. It's not there. I raised them. It's there. So in this case, they said it just seemed to melt into the ether. Well, maybe they hit the switch. Like, oh, there's people over there looking at us. Hit the switch, Phil. And then they hit the switch and they're no longer visible. So I think it's a technology they just have no trouble with turning on or off. It could be right above my house right now. Well, I couldn't see them anyway. I'm inside, but they could have been right over me as I sat and watched fireworks. I wouldn't have known. Nobody would have known. When I was watching fireworks, there was thousands of people around, and nobody would have known. So pretty crazy stuff. But anyway, I suspect maybe that was going on. That was what was going on here. That it was there, and maybe it realized it was being observed and went, oops, yeah, we gotta hide. And they did. They flipped the switch and boom, they were just no longer there. So whatever you make of that, I don't know. But cool story. And I guess having several witnesses to it is, it definitely raises the credibility of the claim. So interesting story. And that is the second news story of the night. And we're going to get to more. I got two more. I'll try to get through these as quick as we can so we can move on to more, but here's the next story. This comes from Archaeology and History. I just heard about this I think yesterday. I think Wes had something on there. I just read the headline on his blog. I think it was on the Sasquatch Chronicles blog as well. I could be wrong. But here it is from unexplained-mysteries.com. Archaeology and History, mystery as France's Excalibur, the Durandal sword, disappears. What? It's just gone. All right, a sword that had been lodged in solid rock for over 1,300 years has gone missing under mysterious circumstances. The story of Excalibur, the legendary sword pulled from the stone by King Arthur, needs no introduction. But far fewer people will have likely heard the tale of Roland and Durandal. The story goes that Roland, a knight of French lore, was gifted the indestructible sword said to be capable of slicing boulders in half by the Emperor Charlemagne, who had taken it from an angel. Oh, wow. For 1,300 years, the sword had been lodged in a rock face 32 feet off the ground in the cliff-top village of Rocamadour. I don't know how to say that for sure, but I'm going to say Rocamadour, in southwestern France. On Monday, however, the legendary weapon disappeared, prompting a police investigation. The theft of the artifact is particularly puzzling as its location 32 feet above the ground in a secure area made it difficult to access, raising questions over how it had been taken and who was responsible. Understandably, the local people are struggling to come to terms with its loss. Rocamadour feels stripped of a part of itself, a local mayor told La Dépêche. I don't know what Dépêche means, but I know. I just think of Depeche Mode. I don't know what Dépêche means. Even if it's a legend, the destinies of our village and this sword are linked. Wow. I wish they would have provided a picture. Oh, I guess that is a picture of the sword. So there it is, just in the rock. It kind of looks rusted though, right? Is that it there? I think that's it, sticking out of the rock right there, and this is the blow up of it. But yeah, I guess it's just gone suddenly. That's a little creepy. I don't know how that happened. Hopefully they find it though. That's sad. That's tragic, but I wonder how the hell it got there in the first place. Lodged in a rock face. It doesn't, well, I don't know what the legend is, but perhaps he put it up there as a testament to something, his devotion or whatever. But whatever the case, it's now missing, and can only hope it turns up. Either that or somebody really wanted an angelic blade. I can't blame them for that, but I don't advocate stealing things. I don't think that's the right way to go about getting one, but that's an interesting story. So, oh, look at that. 5-foot creature with glowing eyes. I think that one's the next one we're going to be reading. All right. But that's an interesting story out of French legend and fact, I guess. The sword was there. It's no longer there. Was it actually an angelic sword? I don't know. But that's pretty wild. In any case, there you go. Third story is done. Let's get to the last story tonight. This is the next story, what I just read, the headline of the last one. On the margin, I thought this was the next one I pulled up. And here we go from the Creatures, Myths, and Legends category on unexplained-mysteries.com. Campers call the cops after seeing 5-foot creature with glowing eyes. Not necessarily a giant at 5 feet, but if it's a creature with glowing eyes at 5 feet, that's a whole different level of creepy. They don't have to be huge to be intimidating. Deputies arrived on the scene at Kisachi National Forest after a group of campers reported a very strange sighting. Something strange is lurking in the remote woodlands of Louisiana. I just remember when I was down there, that's how they pronounced it. Louisiana. And that is, at least according to a recent report posted on a Facebook in the Natchitoches Parish Sheriff's Office. The incident, which was reported around 9:20 p.m. on June 28th, saw deputies attend the scene of a 911 call from a group of high school graduates who claimed to have had an encounter with some sort of growling creature that was 5 feet tall and it had glowing eyes. Deputies arrived on the scene and began to walk towards the campsite looking for any suspicious activity or glowing eyes, the post reads. And deputies then heard the group's whistles and located them unharmed. Deputies arrived at the campsite and successfully escorted the group out of the forest. Deputies reported the disposition as unable to locate any suspicious activity involving a growl with glowing eyes and standing 5 feet tall. So what did the group encounter in the woods that evening? In all likelihood, either they encountered a bear. Sure, it's always a bear. It's a bear. It's just a bear. That's the best fallback. Or they had ingested a bit too much alcohol. Not a bitch too much, a bit too much, sorry. It's also possible that the entire 911 call was little more than a hoax. Yeah, but that's something you can get in big trouble for. You don't hoax a 911 call because you actually can stand to face charges yourself for, hoaxing a 911 call. And that's a whole different level of stupid. So you got to believe, excuse me. Sorry. I usually mute those, but that one snuck right up on me. Airball. I think I'm better now. So, they don't know what it was, but it was 5 feet tall, had glowing red eyes, and growling. And then it wasn't there. I don't know. Did they look for prints or what? Or at 5 feet, though. I mean, that's not probably big enough to really leave some serious impressions in the soil, unless it was real muddy. But at any rate, that's the last story on the news. Hopefully you feel like you're informed, entertained. We learned about cats. We learned about a sword in the stone in France that's missing. We learned about a possible juvie Bigfoot or something else, maybe another form of cryptid. Doesn't give us a lot to go on. Might be a bear, I guess. But it could be a youngin'. You're right, Rachel. It could be. But there you go. Yeah, this isn't the 80s. As Grandizer says. Yeah, this isn't the pre-1990s when you could do a prank call and get away with it. Yeah. Caller ID kind of screwed up that. especially if you're calling a message board like 911. I think even if you try to cloak your number, they'll get the real number. I don't think they mess around at all. They have law enforcement grade tools that might bypass a lot of the *67 then call. No, that's probably not going to work. I wouldn't be the one to try it, even if too young to be cautious. Maybe that could be true in the case of this 5'1" who's like, there's people. I'm going to watch what Grandpa did. I'm going to try it. So anyway, that's the story. It's a real experience. Again, I think if they called 911, they were worried about something, especially if they called 911 and then just sat there waiting for the police. It's like, they definitely weren't. I don't believe they were hoaxing. I just, that'd be a whole different level of stupid. They saw something. And so it sounds like they were definitely in fear. If it was a hoax and they knew it, they would have took off. They would have called and been like, let's get out of here. And sit in the hills and watch the cops roll in or something, look around. But that wasn't the case. They stayed put until the deputies arrived. So I would give that a probable real experience that those kids had encountered. Probably not one they ever want to remember. But anyway, that's how it rolls. You don't know when this stuff's going to happen, but when it happens, it brings you to a whole different kind of uncomfortable. So anyway, that's the news. Let's get back to the rest of the show. There aren't any phone lines right now, Grandizer. We used to have phones, but the phone days are gone. At least for now. Yeah, that's definitely not the number. I don't know what you're going to get if you call 1-800-PARAPORT. I'll bet you it's not going to be good, though. I think that's actually too many digits anyway. Maybe Parapor, I don't know, or PowerPort. I don't know. Anyway, that was the news. Let's get back to it here. Welcome back. Hope you guys enjoyed the news. I love doing the news, so I love doing it. Hopefully you love hearing it. And actually, I'm not calling it. Are you kidding me? Didn't pay the phone bill? No, I didn't. That's kind of the point. Actually, Grandizer, we used to have call-in abilities here on the show. And I liked having it, but it was a regular expense that only got used about once every 2 or 3 months. And that was when Deb was on. She would do readings, and they were marvelous. It was great. And I miss being able to provide those shows because so many of you were just, every time Deb was on, you guys were all over it and calling in. And I'm sorry that we can't do that. But, I mean, honestly, with the economy right now, and, me dealing with it just as much as any of you, it's an expense that we just didn't need because it wasn't regularly used. We'd go a month without getting any calls, and then maybe one night we'd get 2 calls or something. And it's hard to justify that expense, and I'm not trying to whine or anything. I'm just talking dollars and cents. It's just like, is this a good use of resources when it's not something we can utilize regularly? Now, additionally, when I did have phone lines, it was piggybacked on TFR. Live.com, which was basically the parent network of the Paranormal Portal. That's where the show started. And when they kind of just decided to, shutter the TFR Live, of course they, one of the things to go away was their phone lines. And since I was piggybacked on that, my phones went away as well. And rather than encumber the expense and having to get a new number and then, pay for it every month when it's not being regularly used, it's like, well, we can utilize the resources in other ways that I think will, bear more benefit. And one of those ways is getting to these shows, like these conferences and stuff. I think that's an important part of our growth that I hadn't done a lot of. I'm trying to do as much as I can now, but, getting out and meeting you guys and introducing new people to the shows, I think is a better use of the resources. So that's in a nutshell why I made the decision not to continue the phones. It's something I'd love to revisit again, and we could certainly do, call-in nights if we could get call-ins. But it's hard to schedule shows around that. Like Coast to Coast has no trouble. They open up the phone lines. There's thousands of people dying to get through so they can talk to, George and tell their story and stuff. But that's never been something we've dealt with much here. So at any rate, Brent, you get calls from people like Bart and Lisa when they call Mose. I'd like to speak to Al, last name Kaholic. Yeah, that's a possibility. But they didn't call either. So nope, we're not doing phone lines right now. Right on, Brent. That sounds fun. The calls I get, what you are saying. The calls I get. Okay, I think I understand you there. You can use Discord for the phone lines. Yeah, we've discussed that, and it's something that I haven't explored personally yet. I know we could, and it's something that maybe we'll look into for a future show. We'll try it. It's just not something that's been on my agenda right now. I'm just kind of in triage mode in a lot of ways in the shows, and I'm just doing my best to keep up. So, at any rate, your interview with George Norrie was really good. Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate that. I'm glad you liked it. Thank you. I mean, it was really cool to talk to George, and it was very humbling, and he was a wonderful guy. George is just a great guy and a lot of fun to talk to. He really, to be honest with you, to be perfectly frank with you, and I shared this on when I was talking to Shane on From the Shadows, but I was really intimidated before that interview. I was like, I don't want to sound like an idiot. This is George Norrie. He's been at this for years and years, and here I am, going to talk to the guy and going to interview him. And well, I was really intimidated, but I told George that before the show. I said, George, this is the one interview I'm really intimidated to do. And he's like, oh, we'll just have a good time. And sure enough, we started recording and we had a great time. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Aggravated. I appreciate that as well. Keeping the phone lines like that. Well, thank you, Grandizer. I'm glad you understand. No, nobody called because there's nowhere to call. Nowhere to call right now. I don't even have Discord open right now, to be honest with you. I had to shut it down because I had to do some work on my computer. And when I do video stuff, the computer's working hard. So I try to shut down other programs, and I just haven't reopened. The Discord. So even that we can't test right now. So, but we will. Thank you, Barbara. It was good, she said. Thank you guys all. I appreciate that. Again, it was an incredible experience, and I was really honored that George agreed to the interview, and we had a great talk. I really enjoyed it. I mean, he's just so easy to talk to. He's really, before you talk to any of these personalities, and I've been really fortunate, I haven't run into any of the real dicks. I'm sure they're out there. Some people that are just so in love with themselves, and they're in a media presence of some kind. But everybody I've talked to has been just marvelous, kind, and down to earth, and just really, really pleasant. Dave Schrader was awesome, Ronnie LeBlanc, and George Norrie, and several others. And, of course, everybody I talk to, I love having these discussions and hearing about their experiences and what they think about things. So I've just really been blessed. I have to look up that George Norrie interview. Yeah, it's if you look at the video podcast playlist on YouTube, or it's on Rumble, either one, just look for the video podcast George Norrie, and you can watch the interview as well as listen to it. Or you can listen to the audio version on Spotify or iTunes or iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to regular podcasts. You can find, we're a regular podcast too, but wherever you listen to other podcasts, you can just do a search and find Paranormal Portal. In fact, if you just grab your phone, whether it's an Android or an iPhone, and look for the button that says podcasts, you click that and just do a search for Paranormal Portal, it'll be there. It's on all those, either Android or iPhone or any of the other applications, Podbean, CastBox, Google Play, Stitcher, any of them, wherever you do podcasts. So anyway, have you ever had Jimmy Church? No. That'd be a good one good guy to talk to. There's a lot of people that I haven't talked to. I got a really cool interview coming up next week that I'm really excited about. I just did one. It was today. I just did one today earlier, and that was a great interview too. It's a return guest, but we had a great discussion as well, dealing with the similarities between UFO phenomena and spiritual phenomena like exorcisms and demonic possession and UFO abductions. It was a really profound discussion that I had today with, the author Ron Felber, and that'll be airing on Sunday. Now, I got a really big interview coming next week on Tuesday that should air the following weekend. And it's going to be a paranormal personality that any of you that are interested in any of the ghost hunting shows, you're gonna know this person. So that's I'll release more information about it as soon as I get the interview in the bag, and then I can tease it. But until then, just know that I'm still got some other amazing shows coming up for the podcast. And maybe because he took over for that was the beginning. I thought it was me, but I just kept quiet. The more I watch other sites, I can sense hate and dislike. I'm looking at what and how young he was during his first experience. Oh yeah, George. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Jimmy Church would be good. He has a lot to say. Yeah, I'm sure he would be. I mean, I would like to introduce or interview so many people. I mean, my wish list on interviews is huge. Not all of those people are easy to get in touch with. So I'm doing the best I can.
Person.
The ghost box said person. Well, I interview people. A person. Sure. I that's kind of relevant, right? To what we're talking about. What about a person? What do you got to say about a person? Or do you have any advice, ghost box? Love to hear it. But yeah, I'm doing my best to keep those shows as incredibly interesting as I can, and trying to bring in not only amazing experiences from people that are living through them, but talking to some of these personalities that I think a lot of us know, and it's just going to be really cool. So I'm excited. I'm excited about shows coming up. So please, let other people know about the podcast. Share those episodes. If you listen to any of them, please share them on your social media and let other people know. I don't, again, I'm going to repeat this. I don't advertise the Paranormal Portal. I never really have. I've tried a couple like $20 test runs on like Google and stuff, but I don't know. I haven't seen the merit of it yet, but I'll tell you, all of our growth that has come has been either because people have heard me on a different show, or they've just stumbled onto us, or they've heard from you guys about these shows and they've showed up and they're like, oh, and this is the greatest kind of growth that I could hope for, because I think the people that are showing up, all of you, are here because you're genuinely interested in it. You like to have fun. You like to, think of, talk about ideas and explore the phenomena. And that's the really big part. So I do lean a lot on you guys to, continue putting the word out there. But it's because I know for me personally, when I stumble across something, it's like, yeah, that might be interesting. Maybe I'll check that out. But if somebody says to me, hey, you got to check out this show, it's really good, I'm like, okay, and I'll actually actively seek it out. So those are the best recommendations I can hope for. And if you love the show, and if you like what we're doing here, and you think other people would, I would be honored if you felt like you would let people know about it. That'd be fantastic. I was going to say famous. What? Yes, I just stumbled on here. I like to be around shows where the host acknowledges the chat, how one is treated. Well, thank you, Grandizer. I'm glad you feel like you're at home. I heard you first time on TFR Network along with Kev Baker. Oh, very cool, Mike. Yeah, I miss Kev. I really miss that guy. He was just such an amazing person. And Kev was one of those people that I learned a lot about doing shows from Kevin. I never met him, and actually was not even familiar with his shows before I started doing shows. But I started doing shows, and then I saw that he was on TFR as well, and I started listening to how he does his shows, how he did his shows. And Kev was a natural. He was just so sincere and wonderful. And I'm honored that I was on the same network as Kev. I'm honored that I got to call him a friend and get to know him. I'm honored that, we would talk back and forth through the years about the shows and about ideas and things. And he was just a spectacular person, and a dear friend, sincerely a friend, because Kev wasn't about pretense or anything. He was just him. He was that guy. And I was just very honored to be able to talk with him and know him. and to be on shows with him and have him on this show. We used to do every Friday the 13th. We would do freaky. What did we call it? There was a name. It's like it was like Freaky Friday and Paranormal Portal. So it was like a melding of those two. And we do 3 hours on his show and then 2 hours on my show. His team would come over to the portal with us, and we'd end up with 5 hours of just amazing time, just a great time talking and laughing and sharing ideas and stuff. It was amazing. In my humble opinion, Brent is a great role model. I've learned heaps on how to approach this stuff. Aw. Well, thank you, Maggie. I appreciate that. Pouring out one out for Kev. He was my friend I never met. Yeah, he was everybody's friend. And he was sincerely that. Like, he would do anything to help somebody out. He was just that kind of a person. I first heard of Paranormal Portal on In Search of with Leonard Nimoy. I don't think you heard about me. I was a little kid and like, those onesie big jammies with the footies and stuff, listening to Leonard Nimoy back in the day. But I loved that show. That was actually my gateway drug into the paranormal in a lot of ways. Yeah. Yeah. Pouring one out for Kev. Yeah. Very cool. Beastly. What did Beastly say? People ask me what the Paranormal Portal is because of the stickers on my truck. God bless you, Beastly. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, brother. That's wonderful. I'm glad they asked you. That's really cool. I'd love to see a picture of that. Can you send me a picture of your truck? And I'll post it on social media. That's awesome. That is really cool. All right. I appreciate all your love, though. One of the biggest names out there, of course, is David Paulides. However, he charges. I don't know how much, but that seems to upset some content creators. Yeah, here's the thing. I will never, ever pay to have a guest on the show, ever. There's no way. Just regardless of the size of the audience, and the podcast does much better than our YouTube presence or any of our other online presences. The podcast is just really done exceptionally well. Providing somebody with a place to talk about what they do, I think, has a lot of value for them as a person out there. Especially David Paulides. He's done some incredible stuff. The Missing 411, the movies, the interviews, his own channel. I'm sure he's a wonderful guy, and he's, trying to make a living, and, God bless him for that. But I will never pay someone to be on my show ever. That's just not possible, and it's not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. And there's plenty of people that'll appear. I mean, George Norrie charged me nothing, obviously. So tell your mates about the portal. Amen, Maggie. Brent, I'd be open to get interviewed, but I have to get paid. Virtual fish pumps. You got it, Grandizer. Coming right at you. Got the PewDiePie bro fist for you, brother. What he does that? Yeah, I didn't know that he charged. I'd never asked David Paulides to be on the show. I've met him. He seems like a nice guy. I mean, just in a casual meeting at a conference, but I don't know David Paulides, so I don't really have a personal opinion of the guy. Brent, I'd be open to get interviewed. Yeah, I read that. So yeah, there you go. But yeah, anybody that wants to be interviewed, if you've got stories to tell and experiences you'd like to share, head over to paranormalportal.net. Hit the interview me button, and that'll launch a calendar app where you can pick from dates and times that I have available, in order to schedule an interview. You get to schedule your own interview based on a pre-configured calendar app that I have that lets you know when I can be available. I can make special arrangements if you look at that and it's like, I can't make any of this work. Well, then message me via email at paranormalportalradio at gmail.com, and we can talk about other arrangements. But generally speaking, I set aside Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays to do interviews from 10 a.m. Pacific time through, the last interview time that I have available, I think, is 2. And I schedule them in 2-hour blocks because I got to have time between in case there's more than one interview. I've got to have some sanity time between them just because it is exhausting doing interviews too. It's kind of a different kind of exertion, but to attentively listen to somebody for, 45 minutes to an hour and a half and, continue to engage in a conversation and try to, think of questions that may come up by listeners and address those. It kind of wears you out after a while. So anyway, I'm kind of spiderwebbing all over the place. I apologize if you're new to the show. But I also like engaging you guys directly. You guys are a big part of my life. So I don't mind answering questions and stuff. If you have them, just put them in the chat. I haven't looked at Rumble here for a while. Kev B was an awesome dude. Remember Freaky Fridays forever. Absolutely, Justin. Absolutely. And Justin's transplanting rogue plants. Uh-oh. There you go. All right, let me scroll here. Brent, I don't know if you ever had him, but World. Oh yeah. Actually, yeah. I've Duke's been on the show many times in the past. Yeah, he has. He used to actually mod for us here in the chat for a long time. So, yeah, if you look back at the back catalog and the Bigfoot playlist, you'll find several episodes that Duke appeared on, and we talked, and they're pretty good episodes. So, it was very interesting. So check them out. He is a great interview. He does so much research. I've known Duke, and actually went over to his neck of the woods a couple times, and we met up and did some research and stuff. So, yeah, I'm very familiar with Duke. The back catalog, have to look those up. Yes, you do. Hopefully, you will. I mean, there's a lot of great episodes, and the playlists are set up so you can check out, topics that you're more interested in, but hopefully you find all of them interesting. But I used to do shows thematically, like I would do a Black-Eyed Kids show, and that's all I would cover for a show. And then I would do a Bigfoot show, and that's all I would cover. And Dogman, whenever, I could, or then interviews, which would be a whole show. But I just find that this variety aspect is easier for me to maintain personally, because I don't have to get as granular, because let's face it, there's some topics with the paranormal that are really hard to find new material. After years of doing dedicated shows about a topic, I was just like, why not just more of and actually I drew inspiration from Kev Baker for the format of these shows now, these live streams, because they're all kind of like Freaky Friday. They're just kind of a grab bag of different paranormal stuff. So, yeah. Yep. Duke reminds me of one of those authors. You pick up a book in the 1970s or 80s and you remember a few of the stories. The Gateway book. Yeah. He's been around for a long time, so it's worth checking out. And I think the shows he did with me here on the show, on the portal, were really well done. We had some great discussions, so I'm not saying it was Bigfoot, but it was Bigfoot. There you go. All right, so Solomon Islands will be good. Yeah, that's a plan for a future podcast episode, talking about the Solomon Islands giant stories and stuff. I actually got turned on to that by a clip I caught of the Confessionals with Tony Merkel. He had a guest on there that was talking about the Solomon Islands, and I was like, what? I didn't know much of that stuff, so I started digging into it. I was like, oh my God, that's pretty incredible. So anyway, let's get on with the rest of the show here. I got an article about derelict ships and some mysterious stuff going on there, so I want to get to that because it's kind of a cool idea. We don't talk about that kind of stuff often here on the Paranormal Portal. Excuse me. Now, this article comes from an amazing site. I got to take a drink because I'm starting to hiccup. Sorry about this. Skinwalkers are fantastic. Oh, thank you, Maggie. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Maggie. I appreciate that a bunch. She gave a donation over in the Big Green Rumble machine. All right, so here we go. Scholastic Paranormal Books, Reader's Digest, those little booklets they used to have at the grocery store. Checkouts. Yeah, they should have those again. They should have more of those. All right, so here we are. Here's the article. This article is from Ranker.com, and I really like Ranker. This is a newer article. It's from April 22nd of 2024. And I would just encourage you guys, check out Ranker. There's lists about everything. You can find lists on anything you're interested in, whether it's pop culture, music, paranormal, and everything else. There's just so much to dig into here. So let's dig into this because this is a ranker.com article. It was submitted by Elizabeth Lundin, Lundin, and it's a great idea. This is, whoops, that's not the one I wanted. This is the one I wanted. 10 ghost ships that were mysteriously disappeared at sea and were never found. I don't know if they're all never found. I think some of them have turned up once in a while, but let's get into this again. Elizabeth Lundin. It's just not the same spelling as the London in England, but let's jump into some of these. And the first one up on her list is the crew of the Mary Celeste jumped ship for no reason. In November of 1872, the captain of the Mary Celeste, Benjamin Briggs, set sail from New York to Italy. Well, he was traveling with his wife, daughter, and 8 other shipmates. On December 4th of the same year, the Mary Celeste was discovered, abandoned by her crew, and set adrift in the Atlantic Ocean. According to the men of the British ship, I don't know how you say that, Grazia, who found her, the ship was completely intact, with plenty of food and water to last her 6 months more of sailing. The ship's log was written up to the 24th of November. The ship's only lifeboat was missing. Oh, man. To this day, nobody knows what caused the crew and passengers of the Mary Celeste to abandon a perfectly seaworthy ship in the middle of the Atlantic. The only thing anyone knows for sure is that the ship's occupants left in a hurry. The captain of the Grazia wrote in his log that the crewmen of the Mary Celeste had left behind their smoking pipes. To him, this seemed to a clear sign that the crew had abandoned ship in a panic. Today, the Mary Celeste has still not been explained, and many theories have been broached, including mutiny, madness, and murder, but none have held water. Sorry. That was a little bit cheesy, but anyway. This one is the Orang Medan. That's interesting. Murdered its crew. It sounds like they're claiming the ship murdered the crew. In June 1947, an officer aboard a British vessel, the Silver Star, picked up a mysterious and unsettling distress signal. It said all officers, including captain, are dead, lying in the chart room and bridge. Possibly whole crew dead. Silence crackled across the line, then one simple sentence. I die. The message was picked up by several other ships in the area, but the Silver Star reached the source first, and it was the Dutch freighter, the Orang Medan, floating adrift in the Straits of Malacca. The Star's officer and crew boarded the ship to find bodies strewn about the decks, their faces fixed in a cry of pain. Even the ship's dog was dead. The bodies were unharmed. There was no sign of injury or attack. Before any further investigation could be done, however, the crew of the Silver Star smelled smoke and quickly abandoned the ship. They boarded their own escape vessel, cut ties to the Orang Medan, and sailed away, and within seconds, the ship exploded, leaving only empty water and debris in its wake. To this day, nobody knows what really happened aboard the Orang Medan in the seconds before the crew of the Silver Star arrived. As far as anyone knows, the ship murdered its captain, passengers, and crew, killing them without a trace. Some people believe that the ship was carrying biological weapons manufactured by the Japanese, but the mystery remains unsolved. The ship lives on in infamy that rivals the mystery even of the Mary Celeste. That's crazy. So everybody was just like they died of terror or something. Huh, that's horrible. Here you go. Here's a pirate ship for you. The legend of the Flying Dutchman haunts the high seas. Isn't that Davy Jones' ship? The Flying Dutchman first appeared in popular folklore in Holland. For years, Dutch sailors told the tale of a cursed sea captain doomed forever to sail around the Cape of Good Hope German sailors voyaging in this area of the world corroborated the legend, saying they had seen such a ship. The tale emerged out of folklore and into reliable reports in the 19th century. One 1835 ship log stated that the Flying Dutchman appeared out of nowhere in a storm with all sails unfurled, bearing down on them. Later in 1881, another ship's log wrote that the Flying Dutchman passed them, emitting an eerie red light. The same red light pops up in a tale told by two other ships in the surrounding area. How many logs and reports constitute a real phenomena? Well, yeah, that's pretty strange. So it literally seems to be a ghost ship. Wow, this one sounds creepy. The frozen ghosts aboard the Octavius still sail the Arctic. Ooh. In 1761, the Octavius loaded up with cargo from China and set sail for London. The crew would never be seen alive again. Isn't that creepy? I mean, these people are just like, oh, we're going home, woo! And then they never make it. Oh, tragic. The captain of the Octavius thought it'd be a great idea to try and shorten up his trip back to London by making the Arctic Passage, a trip that never before had been successfully made. So they set sail northward. It was a mistake that would cost every crew member his life. The ship went missing for 13 years, and finally, in 1775, a whaling ship, the Herald, was sailing just off the coast of Greenland when it spotted the Octavius floating in the icy waters. The crew of the Herald boarded the Octavius and found that the ship's crew was frozen solid below decks. The captain of the ship was found at his desk, upright, frozen to death while in the middle of penning a ship's log dated to 1762. The crew of the Herald fled the ship immediately, leaving the Octavius to continue to wander the Arctic Ocean. Nobody has seen the ghost ship since. I'm sure if it's a wooden ship, it's probably not still floating. But that's pretty crazy. Here we go. The young teaser returns every year to the site of the cruise self-harm, self-unaliving. I don't know. The young teaser wasn't an innocent merchant ship or cruise ship making a return home. No, the young teaser was a pirate ship, an incredibly fast one. In 1813, the young teaser made several successful raids around the coast of Nova Scotia when she was cornered in Mahone Bay by a Nova Scotian schooner captained by Sir John Sherbrooke. Just moments before the British boarding parties could approach the boat, the young teaser exploded. According to reports, the first officer of the privateer had seen rushing to the magazine, fire in hand. Now, the magazine, I think, is the name for the storage compartment for powder. The story of the young teaser might not seem like something too crazy. The pirates chose suicide over capture for sure, but the teaser has inspired one of Nova Scotia's most famous ghost stories, the story of the teaser light. According to folklore, an orange glow can be seen in Mahone Bay, and one can hear the crew screaming into the foggy night. Accounts say this happens every year on the anniversary of the explosion in June 27th. Well, that's creepy. That's probably residual if that's happening, but still creepy. All right, here's the Eliza Battle. Still burns on the Tombigbee. I don't know what any of that means. I don't know what the Eliza Battle probably is the name of the boat, but burns on the Tombigbee? I don't know. Let's find out on March 1st. I was going to say Firth. March 1st, 1858. The huge steamboat Eliza Battle caught fire in what would become the biggest maritime disaster in Tombigbee River, which flows between Mississippi and Alabama. History: 33 people died. The ship had been loaded with over 1,200 bales of cotton. Sometime during the night of March 1st, a strong north wind began to blow, and somehow the cotton bales on deck caught fire. Oof. The flames soon engulfed the ship, and the passengers and crew jumped overboard. Today, people still tell tales of the sightings of the Eliza Battle floating down the river wreathed in fire, and the sounds of 33 people screaming in pain and calling out for help. I mean, was there survivors? Was nobody survived? What happened? There's so many questions. I have so many questions. Wizard Moon, you remembered. Thank you. Much appreciated. 2016, was it? Yeah, it was. The channel actually started on YouTube in 2017, but the show started in 2016. Yeah. Yep. Hi, I'm Annie Kanan. Annie Kanan? Hi. Oh, hi, Annie Kanan. Annie Kanan? Is that a new name? I don't see it. There's Todd. I was just thinking about Kev too. Oh, very cool. Very cool. I think I joined in April 2021. You still need an icebreaker to make the passage. I don't see any Kanan. Where am I seeing? Is that a new name that popped up? If so, welcome, Annie Kanan. I don't see your name here. It's not unusual that sometimes my chat doesn't. Kanakistan? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. He means Canadian. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. I thought we had a new listener. I was like, oh, hi, Annie Kanan. Canada, whatever. All right. Here we go. Let's go to the next one. The SS Valencia's lifeboat was untouchable. That sounds creepy. In 1906, the SS Valencia was caught in a terrible storm off the coast of British Columbia. The ship was carrying 108 passengers, and only 37 of these were eventually rescued, and the ship itself became the subject of ghost stories from that day forward. It began in 1910 when the Seattle Times reported sightings of a phantom ship that resembled the Valencia adrift in the area. Other reports from fishermen around British Columbia told the story of a lifeboat manned entirely by skeletons. Ooh, that's horrible. But stranger still, in 1933, the Valencia's number 5 lifeboat was found empty in Barkley Sound. Even after years of exposure to the harsh oceanic elements, the lifeboat was completely untouched and unharmed. Part of it is now on display in the Maritime Museum of British Columbia, while the wreckage of the Valencia was eventually found near a 100-foot-high bluff. This one detail has never been explained. Huh. That's crazy. There we go. What is this? SoCal Squatcher. Thank you. Much love. Thank you so much. All right. Lady Lovabond ruined Valentine's Day. Dang it, lady. Let's see what happened. In the year of 1748, just before Valentine's Day, the Lady Lovabond was sailing the high seas in honor of its captain's wedding. Unfortunately for the captain, his best friend had been in love with his new bride. Oh, horrible. And in a fit of jealousy, he ran the ship aground on the Goodwin Sands of the English Channel, killing everyone on board. That's hardly fair or fitting. Since then, there have been many reported sightings of the ship. The captain of the Edenbridge reported that he nearly collided with 3-masted vessel off the Goodwin Sands, and the captain of a smaller fishing schooner reported the same. Many thought the ship had run aground, but no wreckage nor survivors were found in the nearby sands. 50 years later, local residents in Kent saw a ship with 3 masts heading on a collision course with the Goodwin Sands. Like before, a rescue party was sent, yet no survivors or wreckage were ever found. Yikes. Brent, yes, like William DeFalco, Monsters and Cryptids, officially started his channel in 2012. However, he was dropping vids on the topic around 2008. Okay. That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that started way earlier than we did. But, took me a lot longer to figure out what I wanted to do until suddenly the idea for the portal was born in my head. And the rest is history. But it was 2016 before it happened. All right. MV Joyita was found empty and decaying in Fiji. Is that actually a picture? Or is that just a picture? I don't know. Let's find out. In 1955, the MV Joyita was overdue for its return home. 5 weeks after its missed return date, the ship was found 600 miles off course in the South Pacific, completely abandoned and in bad condition. No distress signals had ever been received. The ship had never run into bad weather, and the crewmen examining the ship smelled decay, but they found no signs of foul play or dead bodies anywhere. They did find a doctor's bag on deck, however, littered with bloody bandages. To this day, all anyone knows is that the crew abandoned ship. The pipes may have been corroded and the radio may not have worked due to faulty wiring, but investigators still haven't pieced together why the crew didn't simply stay on board and wait for help. Yeah, I don't know. That's the weird thing. It's like, why would they abandon a ship? I mean, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, what are your odds? I mean, they're not good, especially in the old days. I mean, now, hell, you can get help anywhere pretty much on the planet almost, but it's not like that was accessible, especially in like the 1800s, 1900s, and the early 20th century. That just wasn't an option. It took a lot of time, but now, hell, they can shoot off a helicopter from pretty much anywhere and get to people. So it's a much better time to have emergencies, I guess, but still crazy stuff. I know Brent would love someone to pull together best bits of the portal. Yeah, absolutely I would. I don't really know how to do it, but I think it would be awesome. Yeah, if anybody goes through the archives of the shows and it's like, oh, let's find some of the best parts, some of the funniest parts, some of the most heartfelt parts, whatever. It'd be neat if you guys did that. I'd love to make a video compendium of the highlights of the shows through the years. You can see the evolution of both Don and myself through the years, and it's quite an evolution. Some ways good, some ways maybe not. I don't know. The years are sure showing up on my face more than ever. I've noticed that. It's like, ooh, when did that wrinkle come in? They keep showing up, these darn wrinkles, but I got a few miles on the tires, so I guess I've earned them. All right, the Carol A. Deering might have been taken by the Bermuda Triangle. Well, that's cool. I'm glad that she put in an article about the Bermuda Triangle, and this is the last one of this article. But on January 29th, 1921, the schooner Carol A. Deering was returning home from Hampton Roads to Barbados when she passed the Cape Lookout lightship. Something seemed a little off to the captain of the lightship, and he reported that the Carol's crew seemed intact, but they wandered idly around the deck of the ship. A crewman who didn't look or act as if he was in charge told the lightship's captain that the Carol had lost her anchors. The ship was later spotted by the SS Lake Elon, Elon, behaving strangely and steering a peculiar course. After that, the ship just disappeared. 2 days later, on January 31st, the Coast Guard discovered the Carol run aground on the outer shoals. The weather was too treacherous for a better look, but C.P. Brady in the Cape Hatteras Coast Guard station reported that the ship was missing her lifeboats and the decks were covered with water. Later, when the weather was better, another Coast Guard ship rescue showed up to investigate it further. They found that the ship was missing all of its important papers, equipment, and personal belongings. The lifeboats were indeed missing, as were the anchors. And this wasn't a strange find for a ship aground in dangerous waters, but then the crew found something that has baffled conspiracy theorists to this day. A meal perfectly laid out for the entire crew, untouched. So they got the hell out. Like at dinner time, no, it's not. It's time to get the hell off. There have been all sorts of theories about the ghost ship. Some believe that the crew mutinied. Others think that the ship was stolen by rogue Russians due to the proximity of the location. Some reports even believe that the Bermuda Triangle might be to blame for the crew's disappearance. The ship was scrapped in 1921, but the mystery still remains. Wow. I guess maybe that's a picture of it. I don't know. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 masts. That's crazy. I don't know. What's going on these ships, folks? What's your take? Sorry, I'm a little bit froggy. Hadn't been talking a whole bunch since the interview. That was Hot for Teacher by Van Halen. Did it sound like it? Snapping plastic. I think UFO abduction. You know, SoCal, I was thinking the same thing. Hi, Jess. Good to see ya. Oh, yeah, AMSR drinking. Absolutely, Nathan Nate. Got to do it. I'm trying to get that AMSR niche in here, too. You know, I don't do much of it, but maybe that little bit. The soothing sounds of my plastic bottle snapping as I drink. Oh, my God, I learned something in school. What'd you learn, Joseph? It's Hungry Kraken, the Revenge of the Calamari. What the hell is that, Annie? All right, so that was the shipwreck stuff. Ghost ships, if you will. I think it's very interesting stuff. I think. Look, there's the one thing that's for certain is that we just haven't really explored the oceans, and God only knows what's going on there. Could there be something that's able to come up on decks? You know, and what the hell was that? It was some movie I watched where I guess it was trying to remember, but there was these creatures. Maybe it was freaking Aquaman. Maybe it was that one or one of those like that. Maybe it was the first Aquaman movie with Jason Momoa, but those like fish people were just horrible, but they came up in these swarms and they came on deck and they would just, you know, kill people and drag them off into the depths of, you know, the dark abyss from where they were coming from. But you think about that and it sounds like absolute science fiction, and rightfully so, probably. But we have land cryptids. We have lots of land cryptids, and they're popping up all the time. And some of them are just one-offs, like they just appear and then they just kind of disappear, and we don't really know what the hell was going on there. But why is that subject only to the land? What could exist out in the oceans, in depths or places that we just really haven't explored? And that's most of it. God only knows what's lying in the depths of our oceans. You know, the planet is mostly water. So there's a lot more of that to discover. Sinfully wicked, I guess it's wicked, 67. They say here in Michigan, Lake Michigan, there are aliens living under the lake. There is a documentary where they talk about it. Hundreds of people, including an NOAA weather station guy and the police. Wow, that sounds fascinating, Sinfully. If you have any name or link, I'd love for you to share it. Something that I think would be very interesting. But yeah, that's just a inland Great Lake, and I'm sure there's a lot of that remains largely unexplored too. I mean, most of our exploration of waterways is it navigable? Which direction is the current going? Are there any things that shipping lanes need to be aware of? I mean, that's most of the extent, and that's all surface information largely. The Navy, of course, is always doing stuff in the waters. I'm sure they've charted the cartography of the floor, the sea floor. I'm sure that's been actively mapped, but there's so much more to it than that. What about, you think about even on the surface here, there's caves that are still being discovered, huge caves, like the one in China, I guess, or Vietnam. I forget which country. But it was like there was a whole different ecosystem in these huge caves where you could fit skyscrapers. Just discovered. And that's huge. And this is on land where we live. This is where we live all the time. So what about the oceans where we don't live? We just kind of pass through them. We travel over them. Well, some people travel through them if they got submarines, but that's mostly military. So Lake Tahoe is deep. Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting what stories, what was that? I missed that. It went off screen. It's interesting what stories persevere. Yeah, it is. So that rings a bell because of the A turd trial. What? What is that? I don't know what that means. The Paranormal Portal Triangle. Oh, the horror grandizer. It's not a horror here. It's horribly entertaining, maybe. All right, underground cave systems that go all the way from the ocean to Pyramid Lake in Nevada. Oh, that's interesting too. Yeah, I mean, so how much is under there that we don't know? So could some of these ships have been visited by some form of oceanic cryptids? Maybe they're not giant sea monsters or krakens. Maybe they're schools of things that can come up and just raise hell. Maybe there's a bunch of spiritual presences in the oceans of the world. And like the Orang Medan, where everybody was scared to death and nobody really knows what the hell happened, but everybody was dead. So, I don't know. Some crazy, crazy stuff. More like loose cannon show at times. What's that? This? It's all kinds of different stuff. Your quick thoughts on the bloop sound. I don't know a lot about the bloop sound other than that it happened. I know it's been an anomaly. There's lots of theories whether it was some kind of geological event that was recorded, or was it a huge creature? I guess what I've heard of it and what I know of it is apparently it's believed to be organic, but just based on the type of sound that it was. But it sounds like it could be some giant thing out there in the oceans. But I really don't have any real informed opinion of it other than I find it incredibly interesting. And again, the oceans are largely unexplored. So there could be all kinds of things in the oceans that we can't even begin to fathom. And I firmly believe that that's probably where a lot of these aliens are hanging out, because obviously they don't want to be dealing with us directly. They just want to kind of check on us. And probably the best place to do that is someplace we're not, which is on the bottom of the ocean somewhere in some, abyss or whatever. Places we just don't go. So if they want to avoid us, it's either in deep, dark caves somewhere or subterranean, or they're in the oceans. And with all the, UFO events around waterways, inland and oceanic, there would seem to be no question that their presence is largely aquatic. I seem to think, but, you come to your own conclusions. Thank Brent. I didn't know if you read anything on the topic, if that was more in depth, or if it was a topic that really got your attention. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough topic to really research because it was just kind of an event. It was an event that happened. It was recorded. There's theories thrown around about it, but it until more bloops are discovered, or if they can figure out more about what that event was, it's anybody's guess. Could be a creature, could be a geological event, could be any number of things. Hard to know. I find it incredibly interesting, but it's not a topic that lends itself to much inquiry, because they don't know where it came from. They don't know what happened. It happened once. It stands today as even today as an anomaly, but what kind of anomaly, we don't know. So that's about as much as I've dove into it. But because it's not something that can be studied, just a lot of ideas. Until we maybe are able to research the oceans much more thoroughly, we just don't know what's down there. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, there's stories of monsters in the ocean from, hundreds and hundreds of years of seafaring people claiming to see huge things. And, you think of the giant octopus was considered a myth for so long, and then one washed up on the shores or was caught by a fishing vessel or something. It's like, oh wait, there is giant octopus. And, how big do they get? Do they have determinate growth or indeterminate growth? I don't know. I'm not a biologist, so I don't know about that, but it's very possible that there's a lot bigger things out there that we haven't stumbled across yet. Could be some of the stuff that's causing these things. We just don't know. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. It's kind of a different journey for us here on the portal to discuss, these ghost ships, these missing, people and what the hell happened. They're huge question marks on all of it, but it certainly falls into our purview here on the portal. So hope you enjoyed it. And we'll keep digging into more of this stuff as I can find more to bring you. All right. I think it's about that time. What time am I talking about? Why, I'm talking about the Cryptid Corner. What time is it? God, we literally got time for about one story, but we're going to visit the Cryptid Corner here quickly. There was a drumming sound bugging people in Florida. Turns out it was noisy fish sex. That's funny. That's really funny. Well, I guess if you're going to do it large. Do it loud and enjoy the hell out of it. So, yes, that's what I read, in that it was an iceberg. Well, maybe. Could be. All right, here we go. Let's visit the Cryptid Corner, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do it now. Ba-dum-ts. You got that right, Rachel. If it's loud and noisy, you're doing it right. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Cryptid Corner. This is our last segment of the show, and I only got 20 minutes left, but I'll get to you as much of this as I can. I got a bunch on phantoms and monsters that we're not going to have time for tonight, but I'll just cover it tomorrow on the show then. So it'll just give us plenty to work through tomorrow night. But until then, we got tonight, babe. Who needs tomorrow? We got tonight. Let's make it last. Let's find a way. Remember that song? Anybody? How about if I sing it? We got tonight. Who needs tomorrow? Anyway, there you go. All right, let's get to the cryptids here, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start out and probably end all in one. I don't know how long this one is. No, we're going to have time for more than one. We'll get to a couple stories here. And this is, yes, be it Bob Seeger. You're right, Jess. Sasquatch Chronicles blog is where we're going to begin our journey. And we're going to start with the one listener. It's actually an upcoming show, but it's a listener email that Wes published, and it's going to be an actual episode. So we're getting kind of a sneak peek here. This is the Georgia Sasquatch from July 5th, today. A listener writes, we live out in a very rural area of North Georgia, in between a couple of mountains, and I walked out in the front porch where he was standing. I've heard howls before, and one roar, but this was closer than any other. A large howl came from behind the house. This is like a battle cry or a pissed off howl. Our cabin sits in the back corner of our property, and we don't have much of a backyard before it drops down about 45 feet, and then about 15 yards away is a small creek. And this is where the howl came from. I literally felt like a rabbit when they just kind of freeze when they're scared. I know that feeling. Ugh. I was fumbling with my phone trying to start audio. Unfortunately, I did not get that howl, but I did get the response. About 20 seconds after, about 100 yards down the dirt road, in front of my house came a howl and what sounded like a kind of grumbling. At about 20 seconds in, and another louder howl about 140 seconds in. Well, I found the footprint the next evening just inside the woods beside our cabin. And this isn't the only activity at our cabin. We've been here about a year and a half, and I try to keep a journal of things just so I can remember. I think that's actually, well, two of them outside the window, maybe. Trying to look in. God, if I open this curtain and there's something standing. Nope, it's still light up. Just think, well, if I look, am I prepared for what might be looking back? No, it's just outside. So the sun's still out a little bit. It's kind of darkening up out there. So anyway, about 20 seconds after about 100 yards down the road came a howl. I read that. I found the footprint the next evening just inside the woods beside our cabin. And this isn't the only activity at our cabin. We've been here about a year and a half, and I try to keep a journal of things just so I can remember. I had a sighting back in 9/21, so September, July, August, September, yeah, of 2021 from about 25 yards away. I enjoy listening to your show and hearing others' stories. Spoke to the witness and her husband, and there is a lot of activity coming around this cabin. Both witnesses have seen the creature, and they're willing to come on the show. Oh, that'll be excellent. Yeah, that'll be excellent. So keep and watch Sasquatch Chronicles for that episode. I'm not sure when Wes is going to air it, but it sounds like a fantastic one. You don't want to miss it, folks. I mean, don't miss any of Wes's shows if you can. He does an exceptionally fantastic job. So, all right, we're going to move to some cryptids over on Phantoms and Monsters. But I want to do this because I don't want to give it away, what the story is, or any of the other stories. But this one was one I was like, ooh, this looks good. Here it is. We're going to read this one. It's not exceptionally long, but it looks like a good one. We might get a chance for another one, but remember, Phantoms and Monsters is Lon Strickler's site. And, of course, you can find so much information over there about creatures and cryptids and all kinds of paranormal wonder and goodness. So head over there and learn about Lon's research efforts that he and several people around the country have been involved in researching sightings and things of different phenomena. You can learn about Lon's books and his own podcast, which is Phantoms and Monsters Radio. Lon's been on the show a few times, just a wonderful guy. And he's just a host, a wealth of knowledge, just a whole host of information that he can just dive into. So it's a lot of fun to talk to Lon. He's just one of those really interesting people out there that has his chops honed. So, all right, let's get to this. This is from Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024, this year. Gnarly, thick-featured gnome encountered near Southgate, Michigan. Now, I keep wondering, what would it be like to just be wandering around? Let's say you're wandering in the woods and you just come up and there's a little old man or a little bearded man standing there looking at you. And I don't know. I mean, there's the gnomes that seem to hate us, like they just hate people. And I don't know, maybe that's rightly deserved. I don't know what their history or experience is with us, but it doesn't surprise me that some things despise us, because I think there's a lot of, in human circles, I think there's a lot of, hey, what's that? I don't know. Let's shoot it and find out, you know? And maybe they've been shot at a bunch. Maybe there's other bad blood there. I don't know. But you know, it's kind of tragic, because I think maybe our ancient ancestors knew how to coexist with these things and peacefully. But I think in our modern era and our modern arrogance, we probably have lost that. But I think they're still out there. I really do. I don't know what their nature is or how they exist or how they, you know, are they completely physical? Are they something else? I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. But it's interesting, and I love these stories because all legends are built on some truth, right? Excuse me. So here we are. Gnarly, thick-featured gnome encountered near Southgate, Michigan. A couple are driving at night near Southgate, Michigan, when they almost strike a 3-foot-tall little person with their car. The description is gnome-like, wearing strange clothes. Lon says, I received the following account. Hi, Lon, I wanted to share this with you. Maybe you can tell me what we encountered. My husband and I were driving over a viaduct at 50 miles per hour one night, around 10:30 p.m., November 2018, near Southgate, Michigan. I was in the passenger seat. Husband was driving. There were other cars around us, but not heavy traffic. Anyway, I saw this thing which looked like a cross between a gnome and a dwarf. I don't know how you'd tell them apart personally, but I think they're both little. But anyway, with long arms hanging well past his knees, he walked right in front of our car from the right going to the left. I couldn't understand how and why we didn't hit it. I just sat there shocked for a second, and then I saw my husband shoot up in his seat, looking in the rearview mirror, and he said, "What was that?" He started telling me what he saw, and it was exactly what I saw. But he saw it directly in front of him, still going left, and then he saw it behind us. And the car behind us reacted to it as well, but they swerved to avoid it. This thing was about 3 feet tall, very gruff and stubby looking, gnarly, thick features. It was human-like, and it had a hat on, a maroon vest, and brownish short pants. I didn't see the feet. The moment I saw it, it was inches from the right front end of our car. We should have hit it. My husband saw it like a split second later, but it was in front of him on the driver's side. We should have hit it. Since that night, I don't know what it was. Any ideas? Lon adds, I don't know if there is any indigenous lore about little people in the area. Maybe a reader can shed some light on this, from Lon. I don't know either. I specifically in Michigan, I don't know. That's interesting. I really think they could be anywhere. I mean, I don't know that there's any one gnome hotbed of activity area. I know that there's a lady that I've been trying to figure out how to reach out to, but she was apparently covers stories about this stuff as well in historical and possible artifacts that were recovered. But apparently in some of the Ivy League colleges or high-end colleges, there was, I think over in Pennsylvania, but I might be wrong, but there's allegedly a bunch of tunnels that came up to the basements of these things, but these tunnels are only about 3 feet high or so, and they all have like a pointed top. Like the tunnel walls are like this, and then the top of the tunnels is like pointed, like it was designed to allow a pointy hat to go through. And I don't know. I mean, what do you think of that stuff? Yeah, Robin is great too, but when I asked her about this, I don't know that, I guess I haven't talked to her for a long time, but she didn't, I don't think, wasn't very familiar with the stories, but this lady has been on other shows and she's very interesting. Robin's wonderful, but I just wasn't sure that she was familiar with the background on this, but I wanted to talk to this other lady because apparently she's seen and interviewed people that had seen these tunnels. And allegedly there was also a burial ground that was uncovered at some point in the 1800s that was all these little bodies, like a cemetery, if you will, that might have been gnome-like size of people. And apparently all those bodies went missing after they were exhumed and brought out by, you guessed it, the Smithsonian. So I don't know. But I love these stories because I really do believe that there's some maybe magical creatures. I don't know how you explain it, but it's definitely some kind of supernatural ability. Maybe they're, got a foot in both worlds kind of thing. I don't pretend to know for sure, but I find these stories absolutely fascinating and would love to, dive deeper into it and talk to somebody that knows a lot more about this stuff. So yeah, I'll have to reach out to Robin as well, because she's wonderful and has been on the show a few times too. You can find those shows in the archives as well if you're interested. But fascinating stuff for sure. But I think that's about the last that we can cover here on tonight's show, because all the other articles are bigger articles. And I don't know, we maybe could get through this one. Could end on a Bigfoot report, I guess. Might as well do that because we got a few minutes left. What's sad? What's Maggie sad about? Maggie, look in your... I don't know. I sometimes look at the chat and I'm like, well, what am I missing? Now I came on something. No, Sheldon's not going to be on tomorrow, Jess. Just going to be me. Just me and the microphone. And I'll do my best to entertain you as best as I can, being one person. All right, so here we go. One more story, I guess. One more. We'll do one more. This one was also from Phantoms and Monsters. Bigfoot recently reported stalking teens in the Kisatchie National Forest in Louisiana. Didn't we just talk about this? Yeah, no, we did. Okay, no, this is one we talked about on the news. I can skip this one. We can be done with that one. What's next? Threatened and Scarred by Black-Eyed Kids. This one's going to be too big. I'll read this one tomorrow. I was going to read it tonight, but we didn't get the time. What do we got? 5 foot tall upright praying mantis. This one's pretty small. That to me is creepy as hell. Again, I find the human-sized insect stories completely unnerving. Because when I think of, like, especially praying mantis, it's like food. And if you're about the size of that thing, you could be food. And it's probably going to be really good about catching you. If you ever seen praying mantises, those things are just like, oh. And they just grab stuff and start chewing it. And it's not like they grab you by the throat and then you're unconscious and pass away. And then they start eating. Praying mantises eating stuff is just horrifying. It's just horrifying. So you don't know if you're getting an intelligent praying mantis or just some kind of abomination. That's just a praying mantis that's really big. Anyway, an experienced hiker was in the Sierra Nevada range near Tahoe City when he encountered a giant 5 foot tall, upright praying mantis, humanoid, that had landed near him. I wonder if he means with wings. God, ugh. I received the following account. Hi, Lon. I heard you on Spaced Out Radio last night talking about the crawler humanoids, Penelope, in the Sierra Nevada range. And I had a strange encounter in the Sierra Nevada outside Tahoe City about 8 years ago that I just can't explain. I was solo backpacking in the area, and I'm extremely familiar with the Mount Dana area. I wanted to test some new gear before a serious backpacking trip. It was about 5 p.m., and it was around 7,000 feet on a ridge with a very breathtaking and interesting outcropping. The stone was was very geometric, and when you knocked on it, it rang like a hollow storage tank. Well, I kept some pieces of the rock because I found them interesting. As I'm putting the rocks I picked up into my backpack for the hike down to a spot I had selected earlier for camping, I hear a fluttering noise, not unlike a pigeon landing. I turn my head quickly, but without much thought, to see the bird, and what I see is a huge praying mantis. This mantis is at least 5 feet long. It stood erect, and its abdomen was curved to a very extreme angle, allowing it to stand roughly chest height to me. Oh, God. In some respects, it looked and acted human-like. While I was crouching down so the thing was eye level, it grabbed a piece of food I had been eating and stared at me as it ate it. Then its wings popped out and it flew off. Oh, God. That's horrifying. I felt extremely nauseous and had a bad migraine afterwards. I chalk it up to dehydration and a migraine, but the memory is so real. What do you believe I encountered? I tried to get a photograph of it, but it took off before I could get my phone. And Lon's note is, I've heard a variety of strange accounts from the Sierra Nevada mountains, including mantis humanoids encounters by campers and hikers. Are they otherworldly beings? I really don't know. But these mountains definitely hold a lot of secrets. That was by Lon. Yeah, that sounds like it. My God. Oh, thank God I grabbed a sandwich instead of his skull. Oh, that's got to be horrifying. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for the Cryptid Corner and our show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you had a good time. It was the son of Kamacuras, praying mantis on Monster Island. Yeah, I don't know, man. Praying mantises are creepy. My father had a pet mantis in his office. He named it after his cabinet minister, who he didn't like. He's such a jerk. That's funny. I made an Instagram short of a mantis. I like them small anyway. Yeah, I wouldn't want big ones. I mean, the little ones I think are interesting, and I'm sure they eat a lot of things that would otherwise bug the hell out of us, but it's just, God, they're so good. I guess the ones that disturb me the most are the ones that they hang out by hummingbird feeders and they grab hummingbirds and then they eat them. It's like, oh, God, that just doesn't seem right. In the whole order of things eating, like insects eating, higher, well, I don't know higher, but eating other, like, higher order life forms, to me is just, I don't know, it's just like, ooh, that's so creepy. Because you know the bird's not digging it. Excuse me. You know that's not good. Hey, MG Stevenson says, amazing show. Well, thank you so much. I'm glad you popped in and were able to catch it. It's absolutely wonderful to meet you, and I hope you come back, because we do these live shows every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So if you're available, if you have time in your schedule, love to see you come back and get subscribed or whatever, but hopefully you will. It's a pleasure to meet you either way. Thank you so much. But this has been the Friday edition of the Paranormal Portal. The bird got hit by something, and it even wasn't the bird's fault. I don't know what you're talking about, Grandizer. Brent, when I was a kid, me and my cousins found a praying mantis. We had a younger cousin who was hanging out. She walked right by the praying mantis. She got scared straight when she saw it. Yeah. And then he went into the bird. I don't know what that... I don't know. Oh, you're talking about that mantis eating a bird? Yeah. If that's what it... Excellent show. Thank you, Maggie. And thank you all. Again, love your support. It means the world to me. And I would love if you guys would share these shows out to other groups where they deal with the paranormal. Hopefully you find some merit in it. Again, we like to have fun, like to joke around and take this stuff light, because this stuff's already creepy enough. You don't need a moody host getting all creepy and, like that. I don't get into the theatrics of it, but I think that it's all fascinating. We explore ideas, we explore the concepts, we explore the stories, and hopefully you find some merit in it, and you want other people to talk to us or come hang out. Maybe not talk to us unless they got stories. I'd love to hear from them. So anyway, for all Paranormal Portal information and stuff, head to paranormalportal.net. It'll tell you the show schedule. It'll talk about there's mentions on there about our social media, about the podcast schedules. And if you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, because you have information or stories that you've experienced, I'd love to talk to you. Hit the interview me button on there. If you have any reason to reach out to me, want to get in touch with me, do it through paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. That is the only Paranormal Portal email that, I take messages from. So hopefully you guys will continue coming back. But anyway, I guess that's going to wrap it up for tonight. That's all I got for you. Hope you had a good time. And thank you all so much for being here. Remember, we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. I'll see you tomorrow night, right here, same time, 7 p.m. Wherever you're watching now, just come back tomorrow. I'll be here. All right. Good night, everybody. Take care.